Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 14th of March 2024, and these are the stories that we'll be deciphering during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the talks between Pakistan and the IMF that have begun. These talks, of course, pertain to the last tranche of the current SBA of around 1.1 million US dollars, 1.1, of course, billion, a tranche of 3 billion bailout, of course. And the fact is that, as hinted by Mohammad Aurangzeb, Minister for Finance, the government will also be moving towards getting a new agreement with the IMF, and talks on these might happen during these very talks for the last tranche of this 3 billion bailout as well. The KSE 100 index at the same time has also increased. There's an improved sentiment index and investor confidence as far as the economic situation in Pakistan is concerned, looking at the different indicators as well as these talks with the IMF that seem to go in the right direction. This is going to be our first story. Pakistan's talks with the IMF, the last tranche of the $3 billion bailout, and talks for a new EFF. Then we'll be talking about Israel's war on Gaza, day 160 of the conflict, the war between both and of course Israeli forces have, as per media reports, again opened fire on Palestinians waiting for food in Gaza City. This also came hours after it had bombed a UN food distribution center in southern Rafah city. Israeli military also says its plans to transfer about 1.4 million Palestinian civilians who are trapped in Rafah to humanitarian islands in the middle of Gaza before launching a quote-unquote ground invasion. At least 31,341 Palestinians have lost their lives due to this inhumane violence, ethnic cleansing and genocide of Israel. This is going to be our second story, and then we are going to talk about a 2,000-year-old coins, a set of coins that has been found in the United Arab Emirates. The archaeologists who have found this very exciting discovery at the Abrak archaeological site in the Al-Quwain region of the UAE say that 3 golden coins have been found, estimated to be 2,000 years old. These coins are said to be believed to be circulated during the 1st century AD. So this is going to be the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the talks between Pakistan and the IMF. We've been joined by Mehtab Haider, who's a senior journalist. Mehtab sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. The IMF has started its talks, Mehtab, with Pakistan as far as the last tranche of this 3 billion SBA is concerned. When you look at these talks, when you look at the optimism that surrounds these talks as well, with the investor confidence and the sentiment that is prevailing, do you feel Pakistan is easily going to get this last 1.1 billion tranche from the IMF?
Thank you very much for inviting me. Actually, Pakistan and IMF have started negotiating the last tranche and the second review of the standby arrangement program. And Pakistan had struck this agreement in last June, when the last program was about to end. So at that time, Pakistan and IMF agreed for a transition period, and this program was envisaged for 9 months. Pakistan has so far received $1.9 billion under the standby arrangement, and now the talks have begun between the two sides for completion of the second review and release of third tranche. This program, standby arrangement program, is going to end on April 12, 2024. So, Pakistan, in this ongoing talk, the first agenda will be the looking at the numbers, macroeconomic numbers of different sectors of economy for the last December 2023, and Pakistan has by and large achieved all the investing targets, quantitative performance criteria and structural benchmark. Out of 25, 24 have been fulfilled, and yesterday Ministry of Finance released an official announcement in which they claimed that all the targets agreed with the IMF were materialized. So this is the first part of this thing. But when IMF is in the town, they always talk about so far what Pakistan have achieved, and what they are going to envisage for the next quarter. So the talks will definitely focus on the FBR's revenue target, energy subsidies, non-tax revenue target, because Pakistan has achieved maximum profit from the State Bank of Pakistan, and it was secured in the first 6 months. So the non-tax revenue target would be also the one of the major area. Another area of discussion would be the revenue surplus agreed by the provinces to generate for achieving a consolidated fiscal deficit agreed between Pakistan and IMF. And of course, there will be another important area of foreign exchange reserves, because under the IMF program, it was envisaged that the State Bank of Pakistan will be able to jack up its foreign exchange reserves up to $9 to $10 billion. So on fiscal and exchange rate side, these are the issues. And on monetary side, of course, Pakistan will make all-out efforts to convince the IMF to ease out the monetary stance, keeping in view the reducing trends in inflationary pressure. So these are the major areas of discussion going to be held between Pakistan and IMF from today to till March 18. And it is hoped that the staff level agreement will be struck. And another thing which is going to be discussed by the both sides about the possibility of at least discussing about the salient features of the next extended fund facility program, which will be around 3 years. But Pakistan, as Minister for Finance has already mentioned, that Pakistan wants a longer and a larger size of the EFF program. So these are the major areas of discussion.
All right, Mehtab Sahab, also, you were talking about a new EFF. Now, the IMF has also said in a statement that it is going to support a new economic program for Pakistan if the government seeks one. And the statement by Mr. Aurangzeb, also our finance minister, who also has indicated that we will be going out towards a new EFF. What should be expected of it? You say Pakistan is looking for a long term. The IMF says it is looking at a medium term agreement. Will both the sides agree to an EFF facility that will be beneficial for Pakistan?
Actually, there are different options that will be under consideration. For instance, I can quote an example. When Pakistan People's Party struck an agreement with the IMF back in 2008, it was a medium-term program, but its size was 700% of the allocated quota of Pakistan. So there is one option that we should seek a larger size of EFF by enhancing the quota, but it requires the consent of the IMF's executive board. Another option is augmentation through climate finance. It is one of the options that we should also seek climate finance to augment the EFF program, because Pakistan requires an enhanced size of the program. And under the quota, we can qualify for only $6 billion. But if we want to augment that EFF, it is one of the options that it should be augmented through the climate finance. So these are the part of discussions and the parlays. And Pakistan will probably make a request, probably informal, and then, the next month, IMF and World Bank's annual spring meeting is scheduled to be held in Washington. So Pakistan team will also go there, and then probably they will make a formal request for the extended fund facility program with request for enhancing its size or through augmentation through the climate finance. So these are the options which will be discussed by Pakistani authorities with the IMF mission, which is currently in Islamabad in our town.
All right, Mehtab sahab, also there's another thing. You talk of options, and we know that the IMF is very stringent when it looks at all the conditionalities that it puts forward when it signs an EFF or an SBA with any country, and that includes Pakistan. We also know Pakistan doesn't have that good relationship with the IMF. Looking at all its previous, agreements that it had signed, only one between 2013, 2016, and then the SBA, and the has been, inshallah completed, and the previous one. Well, with the track record that Pakistan has, do you feel that Pakistan has this time able to satisfy the IMF as far as its reform processes are concerned, its macro and microeconomic indicators are concerned? Do you feel that we are going in the right direction as far as our relationship with the IMF is concerned?
As the finance minister press talk with second group of journalists, he conceded that there is a trust deficit in case of Pakistan, because Pakistan is known by one or two trust countries. We go for the IMF program, we conducted one or two reviews, and then we run away. That is the issue. So the issue is that IMF would like to strike a deal with front loading. Front loading means that they will design a program in which maximum conditionalities will have to be fulfilled in next 6 months to 1 year, or maximum 1.5 year period. But Pakistani side would like to strike a deal with staggering conditionalities, so that people of Pakistan shouldn't feel so much burden of the IMF program. So these are the part of discussion, and actually there is a need that we should have a homegrown program. We should devise a plan which requires and which is in the interest of Pakistan for 36 months period, and we should implement it voluntarily. Because, for of course, IMF program will suggest the broadening of the tax base. We should bring different sectors of economy which are not contributing up to the desired mark. They should be brought into the tax net. For instance, they will ask for plugging the leakages in the tax system. For instance, they will ask to erase the monster of the circular debt of the energy sector, which has already accumulated 4.5 to 5 trillion rupees. So these kind of reforms and these kind of structural reforms are in the best interest of Pakistan. So there is a need to devise a program, a homegrown program, with full-fledged ownership of all major political parties, so that it should be implemented in its true letter and spirit for next 2 to 3 years. Because
Mehtab sahab, you talk about the ownership of any homegrown program or a relationship with the IMF with a consensus from all the political parties. We all know, without naming, that there's one political party that has written a letter to the IMF very recently, and they're also, it's trying one way or the other to not strengthen Pakistan's economy. Isn't it extremely pertinent for all the political parties, whether they belong to the treasury or the opposition, to sit together, chart out some kind of a consensus as far as Pakistan's economic future is concerned, maybe a charter of economy?
Sir, I am advocating it for last several months, that before signing the Charter of Economy, there is a need of Charter of Certainty. Because if there will be uncertainty, it would have a cost for economy of Pakistan. So there should be certainty, there should be rules of the game on which every political party, including the treasury benches and all those who are sitting on the opposition benches, they should devise a plan which should have certain certainty. So when there will be certainty, then it can lead to signing the Charter of Economy. And of course, you haven't mentioned the name, the PTI, which have written a letter to the IMF. But IMF has already responded it. And they have made it clear that it was not the mandate of the IMF to investigate any rigging. They are meant to provide balance of payment support to the recipient country. And they talk to the sovereign states. So it is, but whoever will be in the government, they will talk to the representative of that government. But the political uncertainty will have a cost on overall economic environment. So it is in the interest of Pakistan that we should strike a consensus-based approach, at least on certain economic issues, which will provide a certainty to the domestic as well as the international players, and especially the international financial institutions which are providing multi-billion dollars loans to Pakistan. So this kind of certainty is required, and I think these political parties should sit together and have a consensus-based approach to create certainty, especially in the economic sphere and affairs of the country.
One last question, Mehtab Sahab, and that concerns decisions taken by the government. The first is Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, who says that he has formed a committee to curtail government expenses, which is going to review a national austerity report of the finance division, the main objective being to suggest institutional reforms and cut the size of the government. This is just one of the steps. Do you feel such steps are important, for this homegrown program, as you talk about, in order to curtail our expenses, strengthen ourselves economically from the inside out? And secondly, do you feel the investor confidence that we are seeing through the KSC 100 index also, that has increased or gained by around 1.59%, is also a sign that the investors or those who are sitting in the different markets in Pakistan are confident of the current government taking the right decisions?
Actually, the IMF's primary objective is to curtail the fiscal deficit, and especially to generate the primary surplus, which is estimated excluding the debt servicing repayments. Actually, the problem is there is a need to undertake reforms on both revenue side as well as on expenditure side in order to achieve the desired fiscal deficit target. For instance, you have mentioned the austerity committee constituted by the Prime Minister, but there is a need to implement now. In the last tenure of the PDM-led regime, they have prepared an austerity committee report which was presented before the Prime Minister, but it was not fully implemented. So now there is a need to take action rather than only coming up with the prescriptions. So these kind of expenditure reforms are essential, especially on pension bill, especially on SOE's losses, because it has accumulated up to the unsustainable level. So these kind of expenditure reforms will be part of the next IMF program as well. So there is a need to make a homegrown agenda, which we have mentioned earlier. And related to your question about the domestic investors' confidence, I think when the IMF has reached Islamabad and they are in the town, it has given signal to the investors that the incumbent regime is serious about undertaking the desired structural reforms. So it has signaled them, and they have responded. They are going to respond them positively. So when the style level agreement will be reached in next 4 to 5 days, you will see that they will respond positively. But a major I think issue will be how Pakistani authorities will be able to strike a balanced next medium-term program with the IMF, which resolves the structural problems, which resolves the basic fundamental issues confronting with the Pakistan's economy, and set the path for the growth trajectory over the medium term.
Let's hope for that, and let's expect the best in the coming months and years as far as Pakistan's economic situation is concerned. Thank you so very much, Mehtab Haider Saab, a senior journalist, talking to us and, of course, discussing this agreement these talks between the IMF and Pakistan that are going on as we speak, have begun today, and, of course, which will, inshallah, lead to the staff level agreement, and also talks of another EFF between Pakistan and the IMF. Let's see where things go, and we will be updating you as and when those details come along. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns day 160 of Israel and a Palestinian conflict that is showing all signs of escalation within Palestine and outside of Palestine as well. We've been joined by Brigadier Raashid Wali Janjua Saab. He is, of course, a senior analyst as well. Thank you very much, Janjua Saab. I'd like to begin with a statement by US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who says Israel needs to open as many land crossings into Gaza as possible. He also says that shipments into northern Gaza began this week through a crossing known as the 96th gate. Washington, he says, is also working to coordinate a multinational effort to set up a maritime aid corridor into Gaza. Will that be beneficial? Will Israel comply?
Yes, it will be beneficial. Obviously, anything that at this point of time goes to as a succor to besieged Palestinians is very essential. But I am very skeptical about the ability to provide the right kind of aid at this point of time, because 1.4 million Gazans who are crammed into a small space in southern Gaza, in Rafah crossing, they are just facing an existential threat which might materialize, and there is a clear and present danger of their complete extermination. Already epidemics have broken out, and the state of hospitals is very, very bad. The doctors have actually started sending back the patients because patient handling capacity of hospitals has been exhausted. Now, there are some positive signs as well in United States. There are senators like Chris Holland, who very vociferously advocated lifting of the ban of UN UNRWA aid and some kind of pressure on Israel to withhold its military aid, barring except those commitments about Iron Dome, which Israel has been given by the United States. Now, those are positive signs. The statement of Blinken is also positive. And Biden's decision to open a maritime corridor, already few ships have set sail from United States carrying those piers and equipment which is essential to establish a maritime pier to enable the aid through that sea route. But it's simply very unfortunate because Netanyahu, he has not so far issued any positive statement. And all that we have got is some vague assurances that population would be shifted to the middle or the northern part in camps before a full-fledged assault is carried out. But that is pie in the sky and very nebulous assertions on part of Netanyahu. But his resolve to attack Rafah and carry the battle to its logical end as per his own understanding is very much intact. While all this happens, the tragedy keeps unfolding, and the death of Al-Huli, it's a metaphor for the inhuman treatment Palestinians in East Jerusalem and West Bank are being meted out to. We know that there are 433 casualties in West Bank. Out of them, 66 have been the children. And in total, this is the death of 116th child, and this is all, a metaphor for the grisly, inhuman treatment being meted out to Palestinians in full view of the entire world. There have been voices in the European Union, there are voices in the Arab world which pledge support, but the practical on-ground situation is that Rafah tragedy is still unfolding. The conflict resolution efforts, they are also not bearing any fruit, at least for the time being, and it appears as if a greater tragedy would unfold unless the world becomes very assertive, and the United States has to play its part. But what we know that there are, legislators like Mast, who is probably the head of U.S. Foreign Relations Subcommittee in the House of Representatives. He's given a very clear statement in favor of Israel and not lifting the ban on supporting UNRWA. United States supports UNRWA to the tune of $300 million US, and which is approximately 1/3. If that support is removed, the 30,000 strong workforce that would be facing a lot of difficulties. And already Israel is targeting UNRWA, knowing fully well that that is the most effective force which is providing succor to the persecuted and facing the Palestinians who are facing this calamity. So when we see all this, my thoughts go to an article by Jonathan Cook, who is a vociferous opponent of Israeli settler colonialism. And he had a theory that perhaps Israel wants to depopulate Gaza and wants to push Gazans into Sinai area of Egypt. And if that materializes, then the responsibility to take care of Hamas resistance would shift to Egyptians, and it would become Egypt's problem. And then Israel would have another excuse that, look, now the threats are emanating from Sinai, let's go and occupy Sinai. So it will be a continuous expansion. The Palestinians, the dilemma for 1.6 million Palestinians who are part of Israel is that they are also not being allowed to settle fully. They are not being allowed to marry with those who are outside Israel's and into the occupied territory. In the occupied territory, West Bank, East Jerusalem and Gaza, the plight of 5 million we have seen, and in Gaza, 5.5 million who are facing starvation, practically amongst these 1.4 million crammed. This also indicates a very dangerous dimension of the tragedy that is unfolding.
Janjua, but the fact is, you talk about the world being more assertive. You also say that the US needs to play its role. I would like to refer to what the Biden administration says. It said it's going to impose new sanctions on 2 illegal outposts in the occupied West Bank that have been used as a base for attacks by extremist Israeli settlers against Palestinians. And this is something that has been going on for quite some time, these attacks by the extremist Israeli settlers. But the fact is, the actual matter is, between statements and actual action, what is going to happen? Will the settlers be actually stopped? Will the aid actually reach, as Anthony Blinken is saying, that we need as many corridors to be opened so that aid properly reaches? Aid is not reaching Gaza as we speak, and there are so many cases. For example, one whole shipment was returned because it contained scissors, and of all things, I fail to understand the logic behind making statements without accentuating those statements by proper actions.
The declaration of outposts as illegal in areas like Ramallah would not cut much ice with Israel, because it does not detract them from using all kinds of pressures. Already We are being shown the visuals on BBC, Al Jazeera, which clearly show that the Israeli bulldozers, they are pretty active in demolishing the houses. And in East Jerusalem, the plight of Palestinians is even worse. They have been incarcerated in a larger prison, so to speak. So it's a prison-like existence where when the kids are killed, their fathers are not being allowed to pick their remains, and conditions are being imposed that, look, you come only with a, with 4 people for the funeral cortege of your fallen son, and only then we'll permit the remains to be handed over. Now, this is, I think, this harkens back to the times once medieval kings used to perpetrate such atrocities upon the vanquished. In this age and in this age of media, when the civilized world makes a lot of pretensions about human rights, this tragedy is unfolding right in front of us. And the people who have been killed, I have read, I was reading a report which showed that the remains of 66 are not being handed over, or their remains have not been handed over to their, relatives in East Jerusalem and West Bank combined. So this is the practical situation, and settler colonialism is being imposed. The Israeli settlers are being, they have been given free reign, and there is no support to the Palestinians. And the Palestinian government is also in a kind of a transition where the new prime minister is yet to be appointed, and the President Mahmoud Abbas and his authority is very restricted, and the whole authority, the government is pretty demoralized because of the response of the international community, that nobody has come to their support in this hour of their need, when their houses are being razed to the ground in East Jerusalem and in West Bank. And the Gaza, the plight has already been seen by the entire world. The northern Gaza corridor, which is being opened by United States, and only the convoys have reached with a support for 23,000 odd Palestinians, which is too little too late.
Janjua Saab, you were talking about the new government. It is going to be, the new government is coming anytime now as we speak, or maybe later today, because Mahmoud Abbas is expected to appoint Mohammed Mustafa as the new Prime Minister later today. This is what the reports are saying. He is also the current chairman of the Palestinian Investment Fund and has served as Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs since 2013. But do you feel this new government is going to bring any change to the already devastating situation? Do you feel it can make the necessary maneuvering?
It is doing its best, but it is facing a lot of problems. There are a lot of limitations on its ability to deliver, because Hamas is not cooperating with this government, and the reach of Palestinian Authority to Gaza is very limited. As regards West Bank and East Jerusalem, because they are in transition, the infrastructure is completely collapsed at this point of time. Their ability to make any meaningful difference is limited. But yes, after the appointment of new Prime Minister, the government must assert itself, because it is a question of Palestinian rights. Nobody is doing any favor to Palestinian government. It is a legally constituted government, and as per the requirements of the Oslo Accord, it has been established. And the machinations which are going on to separate Gaza and annex it with Sinai and make it a Arab or the Egyptian problem, and depopulate Gaza and keep northern half with Israel. So that conspiracy or those intrigues should be the focus of the global attention. and the Palestinian Authority must assert itself. The Palestinian government under Mahmoud Abbas should let the world know of the real Israeli objectives, so that the entire world, including the Muslim world and the Arab world, it unites in making renewed efforts to bring this war to an immediate end, and then find an equitable solution as per the UN resolutions, which clearly indicate the right to a state for the Palestinians.
All very good, whatever you have said, they are also very good measures that need to be taken. But the fact is that almost none of these measures are in fact implemented in letter and principle, despite the fact that the world knows exactly what is happening in Palestine. Just giving you an example, Agnes Kalamard, who is the Secretary General of Amnesty International, slams the global community for pretending, quote unquote, as if the crisis in Gaza is of a humanitarian nature and not one engineered by Israel. Do you feel statements such as these could be an eye-opener? Then we are also seeing what happened, Palestinians waiting for food aid were again targeted in Gaza city, killing 6, wounding at least 83 others. It's not the first time. We all know about the previous incidents that have happened. At least 4 other incidents have happened in the recent days as well. And then you add to it the number of Palestinians who are being killed, butchered and injured as the time passes by. Any end to this ethnic cleansing, this genocide in the coming days?
You see, these statements from Amnesty International and even the conclusions by the French foreign minister, which clearly absolved with UNRWA of any terrorist allegations. Now, Israel has clearly accused UNRWA of participating in October 7 raids, but no proof has been found. So the support and the statements of intent by human rights organizations and even the international organizations, those are good, but not enough. What is actually transpiring is harrowing. You see the US Congress, in which a bill has been passed about the Ukraine and Israel aid, which links support to UNRWA also with the support of this bill. If this bill gets passed, the aid would keep flowing to Israel, while a ban would be imposed on the aid to UNRWA. And that's the ground situation. There are conscientious voices, there are voices of support for the Palestinians, especially on the street. But in the White House and the Congress, the situation is not very suitable, not very conducive for immediate end to this conflict, which is the demand of all humanitarian organizations, as well as
so many countries, so many human rights organizations, but unfortunately this is not concretizing as we speak. And the way Israel is moving along with the support of its allies, we don't see a ray of light ahead. We did see in the form of ceasefire, but we aren't. That could be implemented, but as of now, it is not being done. Let's hope for the best, and let's hope that the people of Palestine get the due relief in the next days to come. Thank you very much, Janjua Sahab, to have joined us. That was Brigadier Raashid Wali Janjua talking to us about day 160 of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Last story concerns archaeologists who have made an exciting discovery at the Abrak archaeological site in the Omar Corwan region of the United Arab Emirates, and they have found ancient artifacts that date back to 2000 years. These also include 3 golden coins that belong to that era, believed to have circulated during the 1st century AD. According to Reuters, these coins were found at the ancient site of Tel Abrak. The site dates back to 2500 BC. It's considered one of the country's most significant archaeological sites. These experts have also found statues and have also made other discoveries. And these discoveries are also extremely important because they tell us about the context of the site with the surrounding world. So, of course, interesting discoveries are happening that give us an insight into our past, into what it used to be, and coins are just one of an example of that. They open the door to many other facets of our past as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories, segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.